Mother Knows Death, starring Nicole and Jemmy and Maria QK.
Hi everyone, welcome to Mother Knows Death. Let's get started with the story of the day. So this chick goes on TikTok recently and explained that one day she's taking the train in New York and she sits down and immediately realizes something is wrong. Well, what was wrong was that she sat in some human feces. Oh my God. I can't imagine. I hear horror stories of taking the subway, especially in New York. I used to take the train in Philly all the time, and I never ever encountered any kind of situation like this. But I just saw a video on Instagram recently of this guy laying across the train seats and just peeing, in his pants, and it was dripping all over the floor. And you're just like, this is just people's everyday commute. It's just insane. Yeah, I guess when I was interning there, I guess what was that, 10 years ago now? That's insane to think about. The worst thing I ever experienced was a man sitting next to me was watching porn on his phone, which I just got up and walked away. And you had, your infamous airplane story with Andrea and the guy touching himself next to you guys. Yeah. But anyway, in this story, so she realizes that she sits in this human feces, and then she goes on to share that she was wearing jeans that she rented from the company Nuuly, and she ended up returning them back to the company. Okay, I have so many questions. First, no one saw the shit or saw her about to walk into the train and sit there. The whole train car probably smelled if someone pooped in there, right? Because think about it, it's just like a small contained area. Yeah. So I could see how it could happen by accident, because there's been plenty of times where I was running to the train and just ran in and threw myself in as whatever available seat was there. You know what I mean? But I don't even want to say that exclusively New York people are just jerks and don't care about what anybody else is doing. I think it's just a Northeastern thing. Because when we go to Tennessee and everybody's so nice down there and you're what's your angle? Yeah, you'll just be out, walk into your car or something, and someone will say, "Hi, how's your day?" And you're like, "What the fuck are you looking at? Why are you talking to me?" Exactly. So I think we're used to that because we grew up in this area and we're used to that attitude. But I'm going to say it's probably that everybody sees this poop, but nobody's nice enough to be like, "Hey, don't sit there." Okay, so as soon as she sits down in the poop, how did she realize it right away? I mean, she obviously, it smelled really strong, but how did she realize that she was sitting in it? I mean, I guess you just look around, right? And then you see that you have a brown substance smeared on your back and it smells horrible. Okay, so then what happened next? Okay, so basically she realizes she has the poop on the jeans, and then she gets off the train and goes to Lululemon and is able to buy leggings and change into them at the store. Which I would argue, don't you think that the feces would secrete through the jeans so it would be on your legs anyway? Oh, yeah. In terms of putting a brand new pair of pants on. But what are you going to do otherwise? You're in the city, you're nowhere near your house. I would have done the same thing. At least, yes, it's on your legs, but still, at least you're getting the majority of it off of you. Because what are you going to do? Strip naked in the middle of the street and ask somebody that works at a flower shop to hose you down or something? I mean, what are the alternatives at this point? There definitely are, but apparently it seems like the Lululemon employees had some sympathy and gave her a discount on the pants after she explained what happened and kept reiterating that it was not her own poop on her pants. So then she goes home. She said she washed the jeans a couple times, and then she did return them to Nuuly. This appears to have happened a year ago, and she just posted this TikTok recently, and then Nuuly just became aware of this recently, and they're assuring everybody that they double wash, fully sanitize any clothing that's being rented out, even if the person claims they washed it before sending it back. And, I think they were making light of the situation, which is funny for a company to be, and they assured that these jeans have been taken out of rotation. In all honesty, though, if this happened to you, I would go to Lululemon and throw those pants in the fucking trash. I don't care whose they are, how much they cost. I just would be sorry, I'm throwing these out. Because think about this. Then she folded up the pants with the shit in it, right? Put it in a bag. Went back on the train with a bag full of shitty pants. Now the shit's been sitting out for hours, right?
and then went home and put it in her own washing machine. Like, I'm sorry. And I'm wondering, like, if she actually contacted the company and told them what happened, how they would have handled it. But how much could these jeans have cost? Really? I'm just curious. Did
I
it
don't
say
know.
what brand they were?
It didn't, but Nuuly is, there's Rent the Runway, which is higher end clothing, and then Nuuly is kind of the next step down. So by saying that, I don't want to say they don't have expensive stuff, but it's more along the lines of brands like Lululemon, Anthropologie, stuff like that. Stuff that's a couple $100s, but not jeans that are $1,000. So, and they're used.
Yeah, so why exactly? And it's funny because she said, oh, she really liked the pants, so she rented them again or something in the article. And I'm
She
just
rented-
like, why didn't you just buy the pants? I don't know. Because how much could you rent them for that getting them multiple times just wouldn't pay off to just buy a pair?
I'm pretty sure how it works with them is you pay a monthly subscription fee and then you get like 5 items in that fee. But the advantage of that is if you do really like an item, you can buy them at a discounted price because obviously other people have worn them, they're pre-loved, whatever, right? So I don't know.
If I ship myself in my own jeans, I would not keep them and put them in the wash.
No.
Come on. Like, who does
I-
that, really?
I definitely would not. I think, she's getting a lot of backlash for sending them back. And it's like, well, nobody in the world would have known this if you didn't make it public information. So there's something
Do you
to
think
about that.
that there's a possibility that this entire story just like isn't true?
I mean, it could be
Just
possible.
for viral clicks and stuff. I don't know. Just because I'm just thinking from a normal perspective. Plus, let's think about this though. Human shit carries disease, right?
Yeah.
And so you sit on it, and the chance of her possibly touching it by accident are really, really high, especially with all that she did with sitting down, realizing it, going to the store, taking the pants off, folding the pants off, put them in a bag, put them in their washer machine. Like, she could have easily gotten a drop on her hand. And then if you have a fecal oral contamination, you could get all sorts of different things like viral hepatitis or any kind of GI, like food poisoning type of bug. It's just kind of like, dude, like that's a biohazard, especially from a stranger like that, like she really should have not done that if this really happened.
I don't think a lot of people realize that how dangerous poop is. Like, I'm being serious. I really don't think people realize how much bacteria and problems it could cause. I think they just think it's this really disgusting thing that happened to them. And I agree, she should have just thrown them in the trash because how are you coming back from that? I'm sorry. Even if the jeans are $1,000, I would have called Nuuly immediately and been like, listen, I live in New York City. I just sat in some random person's shit. I don't feel comfortable sending these back because I don't know what was in the poop. I already had to deal with this, suffer from this. So, like, let's just end it there.
Yeah. I don't know. Just a part of me like almost is like, did this really happen?
I think it's so outrageous that it did happen, and I could very easily see it
I
happening.
believe that it could happen. I'm just saying, like, if you surveyed anyone right now that's listening to this, they would all be like, yeah, it's like I literally left Lululemon and threw them in the trash out front of the store. Like, that's what any person in the world would do. Anyway, we're talking about this too much. Let's get into celebrity news.
So last year, Jamie Foxx had this mystery illness and was out of commission for a while. He was in the middle of filming a movie and just, reports started coming out that he had this medical event and nobody really knew what happened. So now he's released this new Netflix special and he's explaining basically that he had a brain bleed that led to a stroke, which put him in a coma for 20 days.
So what happened was, I guess it started off as him getting this immediate sudden headache. And when I was in school, I remember learning when we were learning about brain bleeds that they said that it would be the worst headache of your life. So if that ever happens to anyone and they just have a headache that just seems so bad that no matter what you do, it's just that bad, you should go to the hospital right away because this could definitely be a sign of it. Other signs could be nausea, dizziness, and stuff like that. But a lot of people that have this describe having this intense headache that just comes on really, really fast. Not like it. I would say it's probably not like a migraine. It's more like a stabbing, like, pain, right? So before I guess he asked one of his kids to get him Tylenol or something. And before that could even happen, he just doesn't even remember anything. He was unconscious. And when he went in, they said that he had a brain bleed, which is a hemorrhagic stroke. So there's two different kinds of strokes you could have. You could have an ischemic stroke, or you could have a hemorrhagic stroke. So whenever you hear someone has a stroke, they kind of usually lump them all in together. An ischemic stroke is usually due to like a blockage or something in the coronary artery that prevents oxygenated blood from getting to the brain. So ischemic just means a lack of oxygen. But a hemorrhagic stroke is different. And that's when something bleeds. And it could be caused by a lot of different things. And they're saying he doesn't know why he got it. But you could have an aneurysm that bursts that causes it. You can get it from high blood pressure, whatever. I mean, he's young, 56 years old. So I'm sure they'll investigate to see why this happened. But the good news is with hemorrhagic stroke is that they don't really happen anywhere near as frequent as ischemic strokes, but they are way more deadly than an ischemic stroke. So if you have a hemorrhagic stroke, the chance of you dying from it is really, really high.
It's just really scary. I thought he was, it was interesting he was able to make light of it, saying that when he came to, he was really confused about what happened. And they were like, you had a stroke. And he said, Jamie Foxx don't get strokes.
I love that. Well, like half of people that have hemorrhagic strokes die. And then the ones that survive, almost all of them have some kind of long-term effects that they say that they're not the same as they were. So it's really, really dangerous. And it's kind of amazing that he was able to survive this. And he seems like he's still kind of making jokes and stuff. So he seems all right. But when he first came out of it, he had to go to a rehab center and stuff because he couldn't walk. He was having all this difficulty. And it took him a long time this happened in April, right?
I think this happened in April of 23.
Yeah. So it's been a while and he hasn't even talked about it this whole time. It obviously scared the shit out of him, So he was only 54, 55 when it happened.
Yeah, he's very young. So, and I would consider him to probably be a really healthy person too. So this is probably just a shock that something like this happened in general. And then being in a coma for 20 days must be incredibly scary. It must have been really scary for his family, but at least it seems like he's on some road to recovery and is doing somewhat well.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the story about Brandi Glanville. So she's a former Real Housewife of Beverly Hills. Over the weekend, she posted this unrecognizable photo of her on X with a caption that just said, "Sick it." So it made everybody really concerned because she looks very different than she did even a couple months ago from public appearances. So now she's explaining that she believes she got a parasite while filming the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip in Morocco and that it has been eating away at her face.
I seen her in that show. What was she in the Beverly Hills
Beverly
one?
Hills.
But that was when I watched that when it first started. That was
over 10 years ago.
Over 10 years ago. And I thought she was really, really beautiful and stuff. And now her face looks, it just looks like she's having some major issues. She said that she spent $70,000 trying to figure out what's wrong with her face with all this blood work and everything. And the doctors are saying they don't know what it is. And also she said that she might have some kind of parasite that they don't know about yet.
Well, I find it interesting she would immediately say she got it in Morocco because there's a lot of drama with this Ultimate Girls Trip that they filmed, and I don't think Bravo is going to end up releasing it because Brandi Glanville allegedly sexually harassed another housewife, and then that housewife sued Bravo for it, and it's been this whole thing, and Mark Garagos was representing Brandi Glanville and then just recently dropped her and said she didn't have a case anymore. So there's a lot of stress going on, and I think a lot of people at first were thinking, her appearance was due to the stress she must have from this lawsuit that's been going on it must be over a year this lawsuit's been going on. She's also probably not getting paid the full amount because I believe they get half up front for the filming and then they get half after it airs. And everybody believes this thing's not airing at this point because of the lawsuit involved. So I think at first everybody was assuming it was related to stress from, not getting paid or having this lawsuit even come up, or that, she has very openly gotten a lot of procedures done to her face as far as getting Botox and fillers and everything. And I think a lot of people think she went overboard with it.
So this is what I was going to say. And I'm curious about her workup because the first thing that I saw when I looked at it was, and I didn't even read the story when I first saw the picture, I don't see any evidence that she has some kind of subcutaneous parasite, because there are parasites that you could get under your skin that you could see crawling underneath of your skin. But most of them have a specific look, very like worm-like, skinny little worm-like things, along with redness, itching, irritation. Like her skin has no evidence that of any kind of reaction as far as that goes. Not to say, I guess it couldn't be something that's never been diagnosed before, because she claims that she sees things moving under her face. But is there video of that? I'd like to see that personally. My first opinion was that she's having a reaction to fillers, like granuloma infection or inflammation, that's causing her to have these inflammatory nodules that are underneath of the skin that are reacting to the filler or whatever is, I would assume that someone on her level wouldn't get some kind of illegal injections of silicone or something like that, because then that would 100% confirm to me that is what it is. But people could have reactions to fillers too. So I don't know. Like, I would think that they could simply figure out what it is if they biopsied her skin and her subcutaneous tissue. They would be able to easily figure out what was going on. But I don't know what they're doing.
Did you also see that she lost like 5 teeth too related to this?
No, I just don't. I don't know. Like I said, like, I'm not taking care of her. I don't know what workup they did and stuff. It just doesn't scream parasitic infection to me.
Yeah, they said she lost 5 teeth, which started from a bout of stress-induced angioedema.
Okay.
So I just thought that was unusual. Like, people just don't normally lose teeth, I feel.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just curious if she, and also, I mean, she could, even if this has nothing to do with fillers, like, she could just be having a medical, like an autoimmune thing or something. Like, I'm not sure they're doing 100% the proper workup on her, but whatever. I mean, it sucks because when it's your face, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, it's brave of her for any reason to post it like that, because it doesn't, I think that most people would say it doesn't look good. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like she's trying to bring awareness to something, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of times too, people post online because they're seeking medical treatment and they can't get answers, so they're hoping somebody that sees it online will help them out.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Freak accidents.
All right, so a couple of years ago, these 2 friends in their early 20s were hanging out when the one girl just, casually swung her purse over her shoulder, as we all do, and her metal strap hit the friend in the face, which caused a tear in her left eye.
Yeah, so she didn't really get treatment at first. I mean, she did. I guess she went to the doctor that didn't think it was that bad, and they patched it up and everything. But then over the course of the next couple of days and weeks, she started noticing that she was having floaters and black spots in her eyes. And she was only 22 when it happened, so she just kept blowing it off and stuff. And then finally, she just lost vision in her eye. And she went to the doctor finally, and they were like, your retina is almost completely detached. And we have to fix this right now. So for any of you listening, if you don't even have to have an injury, because this just happened to my neighbor across the street. If you are having any kind of vision changes like that, like getting floaters or spots, you really should go, because if your retina becomes detached, you could just become permanently blind. It's considered an eye emergency. You should go. They want to do surgery very fast. With my neighbor across the street, she just told us, like, oh, I have to go tomorrow and get the surgery. Like, it was that, quick that they scheduled her. So what happens is the retinal cells behind the eye, they detach from the blood supply. And if it doesn't get proper oxygen, you can go completely blind. So it's definitely serious. And now she's had to have all of these surgeries. I think she said she's had 9 surgeries now, and it's still not fixed.
Oh my God. Yeah. So as of September 2024, so just a couple months ago, they said her retina is completely detached. So it's at the point where she's only able to make out shadows and colors, which it must be devastating to have, this freak thing happen to you, and then this is the final result.
Yeah. It is. And just like you think about like hanging out with your friend and just getting whipped in the face by a purse by accident.
I mean, it was really reminding me of the time that you had your really long talon fingernails and you went go get the keys and pointed and then stabbed me right in my eyeball. I was only 10 years old and that hurt really bad and nothing happened. So I can't imagine something worse.
Well, I think that in good faith, Dior should make her like a bedazzled eye patch. At least they should do that for her.
Yeah, I mean, that would be super baller to have a Dior eye patch, so they should consider it. All right, last week in Italy, this boat carrying 45 people got caught up in a bad storm, which caused it to sink. Coincidentally, 3 days later, this rescue company was conducting another search mission in the water and heard this child screaming from a distance. It was 3:30 in the morning. So, and they could not believe they heard her over, all the engines running and everything. So somehow this 11-year-old that was on the boat with 45 people was able to maneuver and improvise these life rings made from air-filled inner tubes. She also had a life jacket on, and she just floated in the water for 3 days until she was rescued.
Oh, I feel so terrible.
It's horrible.
Why was she in a boat with 45 people? Do you know?
I mean, it seemed like the boat started in Tunisia and was just off the coast of Italy. I don't really know. Like, there was speculation that they were, like, on this boat and they shouldn't have been. And maybe it wasn't up to code or something. So I'm not really sure. But they believe everybody else on the boat is dead. So I don't think they're going to have clear answers because she's 11. What does she really know?
Yeah, I don't know. I think like what I was reading was it seemed like there's some kind of a situation there that it's like a migration route that this is common that people are going from these areas in these boats that are kind of, janky. And this situation's happening often, which is why they were there looking for another boat that capsized, I guess. So I'm curious, like they didn't really say anything if she was with her parents, she lost her parents, her siblings, whatever. There were 2 other survivors, she said, that they couldn't find those people either. But I don't know what the temperatures of the waters were or anything, but it did say that she hadn't had anything to drink or eat in a couple days and also that she had hypothermia.
I just find it interesting that even though nobody survived except her, and maybe there's a question if they were like on an illegal route or something, how nobody has sonar in the water and didn't realize there was a boat and then suddenly there wasn't. I just find that really interesting.
Well, wait, who do you mean?
Just like nobody's monitoring the water in that area to realize that there's anything in the water and then it is suddenly not there.
I don't think that that's even a possibility with the size of the ocean. Like, think about this. Right now, what's happening in New Jersey, there's like the drone situation, right? Which is just this huge mystery of all these things that are flying over our house. Did you see any of them?
Actually, I wanted to say to you, when we were driving to New York the other day, I didn't know about this at all till like yesterday morning, which I don't even know how. But yesterday or 2 days ago when we were driving in New York, it was really foggy out and I saw weird lights and I was just like, oh, it must be a helicopter or an airplane or
that's
something.
Funny.
But then when we got closer to the city, I was like, oh, we're actually nowhere near the airport. And I just didn't really think about it again. And then when I saw a picture of one in the sky, I was like, oh my God, it was the same lights.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say for sure, but I believe I saw one on Tuesday night.
Yeah, they've definitely been in our neighborhood. Like people are posting about it on Facebook all over the place and everything. But anyway, everybody probably knows about this because now it's on like nationwide news and everything. But they're coming from the ocean. So clearly there's something out there that like they're landing on because they just can't live in the middle of the ocean from the water. Like I guess they could if they're UFOs or whatever. I don't know what they are. But my whole point is that they keep saying they don't know where they're coming from, right? So they're not able to monitor everything, right? If there was some kind of a landing thing out there, they would be able to figure out that it was out there and know it, right?
I understand what you're saying. I just refuse to accept in 2024 that all the militaries in the world don't have some type of radar or sonar underwater where they're like loosely monitoring stuff.
But they listen, like according to authorities, all of these drones are in the sky. Like so
I'm
many
talking
of them.
about the shipwreck, not the drone.
But what's the difference? Like there's all these things that they're like you can't shoot them down because they're FAA regulated and all this stuff, but nobody knows exactly like where they're coming from, who they are, what they're doing. it should be the same theory, the air or the water, right? But like it's not what happens.
And everybody's getting worked up. It's like an alien abduction situation. I'm like, well, if it's happening, it's happening. So get over
you
it.
should
Like,
be worked up about it. You should be worked up about it
no,
because
I'm worked up about it, but not that it's an alien abduction.
it's just more annoying that like I'm more worked up about it because I'm just like, all right, you people are either lying or you're completely incompetent. Like either one of it is just driving me nuts. But you
Regardless.
should worry that because like they're going over my backyard and like I just don't really want people like videotaping my entire property and shit. Like you should be worried about that.
I'm not saying I'm not worried about the drones. I said I was not worried it was an alien abduction.
All right. Well, some people are. Anyway, yeah, so this girl is hopefully, you know, she ends up living a good life after this and someone can adopt her or something, or they could find her family if she wasn't with her family. I mean, she's the same age as Lily, and it's just so sad to think of like a little kid going through something like that, you know?
I mean, it must be incredibly dramatic. I feel like this is like, you know, a book or movie worthy experience that she was able to, even if an adult helped her, you know, improvise these life rafts or whatever that she was on, that she survived this. It must have been horrifying. I can't believe she didn't have a threat from like a predator in the water or something. So it's really unfortunate and tragic that she had to go through this, but it could be a cool story that maybe in her adulthood could help other people.
Yeah.
This elderly woman had this sleep number bed and she had it in the raised position. Do you know Mom and Pop Up actually just bought a bed like this?
I don't even want to know. They used to have the sleep number bed, right?
They had that sleep number bed, but the one that just sank up and down.
Yeah. So remember when Maria and my niece were little kids, for you guys that aren't familiar with it, it's like some kind of bed that, you know, the boomers get on QVC and pay $15,000 for it with monthly payments of $99 for their entire life, right? So this is like a typical thing that anyone my age probably is like, yeah, my parents had that too, whatever. So when the kids were little, so this bed has adjustments on either side, and I guess it has like these inflatable things in it, so you can make it like really, really hard or really soft. Well, when you put it like all the way down to 0, you can make it so soft that it puts like a huge indent. Like you're basically like laying inside of this like coffin inside of the bed, you know, like it's like you're inside the bed. And when the kids were little, we used to put them like put it on 0 and put it underneath of there, and then we would like make the bed over top of them, and then say to my mom, like, I can't find the kids. Where are they? You know, like stuff like that. We used to do it with you and Dee Dee and Louie because you guys fit in there. And if you made the bed, you wouldn't even see a person was laying in it. It was like so funny.
Yeah, you could like scare the shit out of them.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but now they make them, I guess, so it goes
elderly
up.
people can like lift up and stuff.
Yeah.
So this woman has this one that raises up, and she went to go walk, I guess, between the raised part of the bed and her wall, and then something at that exact moment triggered the bed to go down to the flat position, and it ended up trapping this poor old lady in between the mattress and the wall, and she was stuck there for 2 days.
So I have questions because I thought that I read in the article that there was some kind of a timer she had set on it or something for it to do that at a certain time. Is that when it went off?
So the article, I guess this is quoted from the lawsuit that we'll get into in a minute, but it said the bed reportedly operated on a timer and without a manual override that would have made it possible for the woman to free herself from being trapped. They also cited that there was a lack of an audible warning that the head of the bed was going to lower itself, so I don't know if they're saying that these mattresses should have some type of like beeping mechanism or something to let you know that they're moving.
Yeah, I mean, even that though, I understand what it's saying now. I think that this is valid. If it goes in a certain position, you should be able to like nudge it and then it go back up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, for example, when you go into an elevator and the doors start closing on you, if you nudge it with your arm, it's like a person's there and then the doors go back in. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's some kind of sensor.
That's what my old trunk used to do that you hated with the automatic push button. If it like started lowering, but it like felt felt something was there or it sensed something was there, it would stop and go back up.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised that it doesn't have something like that because you would have thought that this would have happened before with a kid or anything like that. So, and I mean, it sucks that the lady was stuck there for a couple days. I guess no one was checking on her or something. Like, I don't know.
Well, after she was discovered, they brought her to the hospital. She was then transferred to a rehab, and then she was eventually put on hospice.
So she was
at
still
her home.
alive.
She was still alive, but she sustained serious injuries from it, and she suffered for about a month and then eventually died.
Yeah, that sucks.
So the family's suing the company now with the reasons we quoted earlier, saying that the bed had a failure in its system.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is really sad and horrible, and I can't imagine something this horrific.
I'm really shocked this is the first time we're hearing of this, honestly.
No, me too.
We should tell Mom and Pop Up, I guess, if they just got the one that bends up now.
Yeah, and Sleep Number is of course saying that they weren't aware of this situation until they got the lawsuit, even though it happened last year. So I guess we'll try to just keep eyes on it and see where it lands.
Yeah. Guys, guess what? We are doing another giveaway, and this one is super awesome.
Yeah, you can win a chance to win a signed copy of Nicole and Jemmy's anatomy book. We will ship it directly to you. So all you have to do to enter is leave us a review on Apple, Spotify, or if you watch on YouTube, you can head over to the YouTube and hit subscribe. You have to screenshot your review and then email it to stories@motherknowsdeath.com, and we will be picking a winner next week.
Yeah, and how many are we doing? 3?
3. So 3 people will be entered to, or 3 people will have the chance to win. And then if you have left us a review before, you are also eligible to win in any future giveaways. I don't know if we've made that perfectly clear before, but you can increase your chances by going on a different platform and also leaving a review.
Yeah, so and then we'll contact you and I'll write the book out to whoever you want and I'll sign it and we'll ship it right to you. Okay, true crime.
All right, update about Ryan Borgwart, the dad that faked his own death so he could allegedly go to Uzbekistan. So he got back into the U.S. earlier this week. He's now in custody in Wisconsin. Officials did not reveal where he came from, but they believe that he was in Georgia, which is really confusing. And I'm the country of Georgia, not the state of Georgia. And that's really confusing to me because that's quite a hike between Georgia and Uzbekistan. So how did the two get mixed up?
I don't know, but I'm surprised because I thought from all the law enforcement people that we heard from that he really wasn't going to get in trouble for this because he didn't break any laws. That's what they were saying.
Because he got off with not that, his charge is not that severe.
But they're saying he led authorities to believe that he went missing, kayaking, all this stuff. And I guess you could say that, but how could you really prove that that's what he did? He left his wife. He didn't do anything to ask for that search. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just kind of weird.
Well,
I mean, I think he's a jerk, but yeah, I'm curious about that.
All right, I have many questions. One of which being, if you're wanted for a crime or something, he did end up getting charged, so there was a crime involved. If you're wanted for a crime in the United States, how are you allowed to just freely fly around? He flew home himself, it seems like, not escorted by police.
Well, that's why people escape to other countries when they do crimes, because it's like a pain in the ass to get them back here.
Also, apparently, he was looking into the coverage pertaining to his disappearance, but he said he used a VPN because I guess in the country of Georgia, they're allowed to extradite people to the United States, so he didn't want to tip anybody off that he was there. I'm very confused on all levels about this.
Yeah, I am too, but whatever. I'm just I wonder if he went there and he did get catfished and it just didn't work out. And he was like, well, you know what? I better just come home and
Then they asked him why he came back and he said, my family, I guess. Husband of the year. Thank you. I don't know. So he's been charged with obstructing an officer, which he just made his first court appearance on Wednesday about, and he faces up to a $10,000 fine and 9 months in prison.
She's technically still married to that dude, right? They were married?
Yeah, I wonder, are you allowed to get an emergency divorce in situations like this, which would override? I don't know. I'm very fascinated by it. Yeah, they're still technically married. I guess this is the only thing they could charge him with because, like you're saying, there is this loophole of he technically didn't waste any police resources because he didn't make the call.
This is just a weird case because that whole video with the chick, with that girl that was interviewing people and that guy saying that he was going to like, he was married and wanted to go to Uzbekistan and stuff. The whole thing was just so weird about this whole thing.
Do you think this guy saw that video and got inspired by it, so therefore made his searches seem like he was going to Uzbekistan?
Probably.
Where's that person at?
I don't know. There's probably like a whole, you know how there's like these Reddits for like all kinds of groups of people, you know, like it's probably just one of those situations.
I don't know, but he was given a bond of $500 and they asked if he wanted to pay. He said he only had $20 left to his name. So I think this is an epic failure on all parts and nice going.
His wife should go visit him and hold $500 right outside the cell and just be like, hey, look what I have.
Yeah, exactly. Total
Hope
douche.
you enjoy yourself in there.
All right, this next story is out of Louisiana. So back in July, 2 children at a daycare had consumed water beads, and now 2 of the daycare workers have been arrested.
So we were saying last episode that back in 2023 in the Gross Room, we wrote this whole entire article about toys that can injure you for the holidays coming up. And we're going to talk about that more next week, too, because there's a lot of different toys that can injure you, unfortunately. But these particular ones are called water beads, or they go by the brand name Orbeez sometimes. Did you ever see them, Maria?
Well, I'm most familiar with them because we've covered them, I feel like, so much in the Gross Room because they are so dangerous. But I don't think I've ever encountered them in real life.
So they almost, if you think about like a pearl necklace, they're these little tiny hard balls. And when you put them in water, they swell up and they turn into these gelatinous balls, but they get like so much bigger than their normal size once they're inflated with water. And they used to sell them at, I mean, like when the kids were younger and stuff, I saw that they would sell them at Target. And, you know, I did get them once when they were, you know, a couple years ago, I got them for them. And what they do is they put these beads in the water and then they get all swollen and they could like play with them. It's like a sensory thing. And I mean, they're kind of satisfying to like play with. They feel like a gummy kind of a ball, right? So the danger is that, and you're never ever supposed to have these around little kids that put shit in their mouth, because the danger is that kids pick up these things and they put them in their mouth. And then all of a sudden, when it's inside of their body, it gets fluid and then they get huge. And this thing that turns out to be a little tiny pearl is now like the size of a ping pong ball inside of your kid's intestine, causing a blockage, and it could cause a perforation and death in kids. It has caused death in kids. So yeah, you know why the daycare workers should get charged? Because I don't even understand, like, how old are kids that go to daycare before kindergarten? 5? Like, there's not a kid there that should even be playing with these things at all, honestly.
No, and they definitely need to be supervised. I mean, they shouldn't be playing with anything that they could fit in their mouth so easily like that with nobody watching.
Yeah,
them.
like, I mean, 5-year-olds usually don't put stuff like that in their mouth. It's usually like 4 and under is most common, but like, you don't have something like that in the room where any baby especially can get a hold of it, because they're bright colors and they just look intriguing to little kids. And so in that particular post I was talking about in the Gross Room, it's like you see the surgery of this little kid that has it done, and then you could really see the size of their intestines. They're just so small. And then this water bead is lodged in their intestine. And it's just so sad that like this is like a common thing that's happening, that they put out recalls for it. You know, they don't even really want people to have it near kids, and it'll say like 4 and over or whatever on the packaging, but like people, they might let their 4-year-old kid play with it at the house or above, but then they also have a baby in the house. Like, you just shouldn't even bring that shit in your house or like a daycare center.
I'm just surprised they're not fully banned at this point. They've been proven to be causing a lot of issues.
What's another thing on that list? Those magnets. You know, those magnetic beads and stuff like that. And remember, they got banned for a while, but now they're back and they're all over again. It's like, yeah, it's very hard to monitor things on Amazon because they're coming from other countries and things aren't banned there where they are here. And but they end in disaster a lot, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, medical news.
All right, so in India, this woman went to the emergency room and doctors were shocked to find that she had this incredibly large mass on her chest. Apparently, she had this tumor that began about the size of a lemon 12 years ago, and now it is the size of a basketball.
Yeah, it's so huge. It's even bigger than a basketball. So she has this tumor growing on her breast, and when you look at this photograph, so we did post in the gross room about this yesterday called 12 Years of Agony. And when you look at this woman, she's actually hunched over, permanently hunched over because of the weight of this tumor is so big, hanging off of her, just like pendulously hanging off of her chest. And that it caused her backbone to permanently bend with the growth of this tumor. And surgeons ended up removing it, and it was 23 pounds. So imagine just having this extra heavy, I think of it as, you ever see those balls, those like weight balls at the gym that feel like a basketball, but they're really heavy?
Yeah.
Usually those are only 10 pounds. Like
Oh
think
my
about one
God.
of those double the heaviness, but around that size, like hanging off of your body like that. It's, her back just must have hurt so terribly. So they removed it, and they diagnosed it as a tumor called a phylloides tumor, which is a very rare percent of breast tumors, but they're usually benign. And in this case, hers was benign too. But the thing is that whenever you hear that a tumor is benign, you automatically are like, oh, thank God it's not cancer. But like, this is a really good example to show you that just because someone doesn't have cancer, it could totally ruin their life still. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, luckily it's benign. She gets it cut off and she's healed, but like her back is going to be permanently jammed up from this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right, so this doctor went on TikTok to give tips on how to poop if you were feeling constipated or having a hard time. So most of the tips involve certain breathing techniques, but apparently making a certain animal sound while on the toilet will, quote, do the trick.
So there's this thing called a Valsalva maneuver, and that's to what you're basically trying to do is to just shut off any air coming in and out of your body, so you could just increase inter-abdominal chest and chest pressure and abdominal pressure, and that is supposed to push down on the vagus nerve and help like stimulate your colon to make you go to the bathroom. But people like, so they'll say like, okay, hold your nose and hold your mouth and just like blow as hard as you can, right? But I guess in this article, the guy's saying, or there's an easier way you could do it. You could moo on the toilet like a horny cow, and then that will trigger this maneuver easier. So I want to know like what a horny cow sounds like. Like, is that why they moo in the first place? Because is that like a mating call or something?
I've never heard of a horny cow per se. I also found it funny that this doctor said he didn't understand why this wasn't common knowledge. I've never heard of any of this before. Any of the breathing techniques. I've certainly never heard of making animal sounds. And the comments were hilarious,
Yeah,
of course.
well, and some of the people like, or you could just like pretend you're blowing out a birthday candle with your nose shut, like, or something like that. Like that would make more sense. And could you imagine just like if you're sitting here, Gabe's in the bathroom and then I hear him mooing out of the bathroom, I'm going to be like, what is happening in there right now?
Well, I
can't do that at work.
I think in your private residence, it's a little more accessible, but I can't imagine, holding it together if we're in the bathroom somewhere out in public. Imagine being in like the pooping paradise.
I'm going to do that like next. Like, remember the other day when we went out to dinner and we were in New York and we were in the bathroom with Misty, but she didn't know, like we knew she was in there, but she didn't know that we were in there. I should have just started doing it just to see like what her reaction would be. That would be hilarious.
Well, let's say you go to one of the bathroom meccas, which is arguably Michael's, Home Goods, or Target, right? And then you just start, you're already in there because of colon blow, and then you could be having a hard time, and then you just start mooing. So I think it's really interesting.
Usually those stores, if you want to do some kind of a survey, like most people that are shopping in stores with bright white are like not having any problem getting poop out.
No.
Which is interesting because you're like, I want like the people that work at those places, those bathrooms just have to be like more dirty than any other place just because more people are sitting there.
I just think
it's definitely like a common thing.
Well, us constipated girlies just need to keep going to these stores. I think it's a great excuse to go shopping. Nobody can bitch you out. You just have to be like, listen, I'm really backed up and I got to go to Target. So it's just how it is.
Can you try to make this sound, please?
I'm not making this sound. You can make this sound.
No, I'll do it later.
I'm
gonna try it later and see if it works. I'll report back to you guys.
So I don't want to say this next story is necessarily a new cosmetic trend, but it's a new injectable trend. So there's these things that are really changing people's lives, which are called G shots, and then there's also Holetox. So can you explain what both of these things are?
So a G shot is getting exactly what it says. You're getting a shot in your G spot, which is the anterior or the front of your vagina, almost all the way to the top. And we talk about that's where the G spot is. And I guess it's kind of tucked back. So what they're saying is if they inject hyaluronic acid or filler into the G spot area, it will make it more engorged and prominent, that the penis will be able to touch it easier and create better sex lives for people.
All right. So honestly, very few stories really make me cringe writing the notes, and the thought of getting a shot in an injectable in that area makes me want to vomit everywhere.
So, and also it's really expensive. It said that it was 1,200 pounds.
Euros, which is
No,
or
it wasn't
pounds.
euros. It was pounds. So it was like $1,500, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a lot of money because apparently it only lasts 6 to 9 months. But the people that are getting it are like saying it changed their life. So maybe it's worth it.
All right. So what about Holetox?
Holetox is getting Botox injections into your anal sphincter to relax the muscles so you could have more pleasurable anal sex. Now, which I'm all for, except if it's relaxing those muscles, what are the side effects of that? Like pooping your pants? Like I need to know if you're having a harder time holding in your poop because
Well, maybe
of that.
that's what happened to the person on the New York City subway.
Oh, they had Holetox.
yeah.
That had to be it.
It-
Anytime
it-
someone shits their pants now, it's just like, oh, they had Holetox. Yeah, so apparently it's for gay men, and it's also for women that want to have anal sex too. Just like it makes your anus like relax a little bit more and take it a little bit easier.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think I'll be participating in this new
I don't
trend,
really
but-
want a needle in my asshole either, honestly. Like, no thanks.
No, but it's crazy because they're saying this firm or this clinic that they interviewed said they had a 200% increase in inquiries for Holtox in the last year alone. And for the G shots, they had a 30 to 50% increase in inquiries.
Yeah, I mean, I could see like if you're having issues with this and this is like affecting your life and your sex life, then like I'm all for it. I think it's a minimally invasive thing. I don't know how I feel about relaxing the sphincter muscles around the anus, but just because they do have a function, and that's a very important function in my opinion. So, yeah. Okay. Other death news.
All right, so back in 1967, this newlywed couple planted this spruce tree in their front yard. So over all these years, it's grown to be 74 feet tall. In 2020, the wife ended up dying. She was 78 years old. And then coincidentally, 2 years later, the head of gardening at Rockefeller Center just happened to drive by and see this tree, which was in Massachusetts. And then they knocked on the door and asked the family if they'd, I guess, I don't know if they bought it or they donated it to be the Rockefeller Center iconic Christmas tree, but as of this year, it is the tree.
So you're like pissy about this.
Listen, I understand the family thought it was a sign that she had just passed away and that she was obsessed with Christmas, and they thought it would be this great honor to have this tree on display. But I just think it's kind of messed up because I read that this, the husband would look out the window every day and just admire it and be reminded of his lovely wife that passed away. And I just think, they're just going to throw it out after this Christmas season, and it bums me out. I understand the honor of being, this Christmas obsessed person and your tree being the tree that's at Rockefeller Center, but it's not permanently there. They're just dumping it afterwards. And that's what bums me out about it.
Did you want them to like dig out the roots and then try to replant it?
I don't know. I mean,
I'm telling you, I'm sure they got paid a handsome sum for that tree.
I'm aware I'm in the complete minority of people that feel this way.
And also, like, come on, like, that's like the coolest thing ever. Like, you wouldn't want a tree on your property to be the tree that everyone goes and sees for a whole entire year.
I'm a romantic, and I just feel like this is really sad for me to look out the window and see a tree.
They could cremate the tree and put it in an urn for the guy.
I think they should. Really?
Yeah.
I don't think that's that ridiculous. Like,
you're acting like they stole it from the dude. Like first, I don't believe that they just so happen to see it. They've been stalking that shit for years. They're like, that tree's good. Like, because I was driving around the other day and I'm like, there's not really that many trees that are that big that look like perfect Christmas trees like around here. And we have a lot of trees around here, So it's not like they're easy to come by.
I don't think they just went to the property and cut it down and said, like, you're beat. But I don't, who's going to say no to Rockefeller Center? It's the iconic Christmas
So
tree.
you think that they took advantage of a widower?
I'm not saying
You're
they
so
intentionally
ridiculous.
did. I just think that he was going to continue enjoying looking at this tree that reminded him of his wife in his front yard until the end of his life.
Yeah, guess what?
And now it bums me out that they're just going to throw it out
$50,000
after.
or whatever he got for it, and the tree and a picture frame on the wall is the same thing.
I don't know if people get paid for those. I am
They
curious.
100% do, because they monetize off of it, right? Technically, like, I guess you don't have to pay to go look at it, but like you're going to that area and spending money because of the tree.
If the family genuinely thinks it's this awesome way to honor their mother, that's great. I just got upset when I read it. And that's my problem to deal
You
with.
get upset over Kleenex commercials. Like, what are you talking about right now?
Never mind. I was just going to talk about this Apple commercial, but I
Look,
can't.
she's
I'll
literally
cry.
tearing up right now. Her face just got engorged.
It's so sad.
Like, it's all red and she's about to like spill.
All right, I can't talk
What is
about
it?
It's too. I really can't talk about it.
It's an Apple commercial.
It's about a grandparent that died. It's like really sad.
She's literally crying right
can't.
now, guys.
Every time I think about it, because they replay it every Christmas.
Oh
It's
my
so
God.
messed up. All right, let's move on to questions of the day. Every Friday at the App
Your
Mother Knows
face
Death.
matches the background.
Whatever. It's there's
It's
not
no
bad to be
distinction.
emotional about things. It's okay. All right. Every Friday at the App Mother Knows Death Instagram account, we put a story up, and you guys can ask whatever question you want. First, who fills out an autopsy report? Is it you, an assistant, or a group effort?
It could kind of be all three. It just depends on what place you're working at. So typically, if you work in an educational institute like I did the majority of my career, then I would do the autopsy and give them the weights and the measurements and certain things. And then the resident was really the one that was responsible for writing up the autopsy report, because they were going to go, they're learning how to be pathologists and everything. So that's important for them to do all of those. And then they would look at the slides and everything with the pathologist, who would then oversee it and then just make sure everything was written correctly. And then they would sign it out. Then I also worked at a smaller community hospital where I would write up the autopsy report, just because we didn't have residents, and that would be what I would do. So I'd still do the same exact job. I also did have an assistant helping me do the evisceration sometimes, which is an older position called a diener, which is someone that like helps do some of the stuff in the morgue that I used to do at the teaching institution. So I had more time to sit there and write the reports out and everything. But ultimately, no matter where you work, the pathologist, the doctor that's in charge of that particular case, has to oversee it and look at it.
So if something's like wrong on it, who's responsible for that?
The pathologist.
Okay.
That's why like they sign their name to it. Like, all of the names that were involved with the autopsy will be, at least their initials or something will be on the report. But ultimately, if anything goes wrong with it, the pathologist is the one that can get in trouble if something's wrong.
Interesting.
So that's why they should. I'm not saying they all do, because there's been many times that they they trust you, they don't look at it, whatever, but they should if they want to cover their ass,
All right. What are some baby names you loved but didn't use?
Santino, obviously, because I didn't have a boy. And I liked Stella. But when I was having Lucia, I asked Gabe and Maria were the only ones that really had a decision on what the kid's name was going to be, and they shot that down. So
I don't have a problem with that name, but because Lulu's like a little fur ball and she's got kind of a little raspy voice, I think it would have just been so harsh. But
well, you didn't know that was how she was going to be.
I don't know.
You were like a visionary genius. I think her name's perfect for her, but Stella would have been cute too. I mean, I don't care. I'm not like devastated that I couldn't use it, because Lucia was also like, I had a list of like 5 different names that I gave you and Gabe, and just was like, which one do you like? And you both said Lucia. So like, I don't care. I picked it,
Did you have any other names for me?
No.
That's interesting. Do you know what Mom almost named you?
Yeah.
Ariel.
Fucking Ariel.
But it was before The Little
myself.
Mermaid. It was like some Shakespeare book.
Yeah. Well, guess what? Like, it wouldn't have been a fun life growing up. Like, trust me. Because that movie came out when I was like 8 or 9 or something, or 10. I don't know. I think it came out in like 89. Right? Like, I was 10. Yeah, no.
Yeah. I mean,
And it's just
especially
like
being a
not
little
my
kid.
personality at all.
No, it's really not. I think your name suits you well. But
Yeah, it's all right. I don't feel any kind of way about it. I don't think it's like the best thing ever, but I also don't think it's like, it's just there.
well, it's part of
How
my
about
name too. So
what names do you like? Are you
I'm
allowed
not
to
sharing
reveal?
ever because one time I had a friend that was pregnant and she said that she was gonna name her kid something the whole time, like even got things made up with the name on it. And then I told her what I wanted to name my future daughter. And then like 2 months later, she was like, I think I'm gonna change it to this.
Who
And
was that?
I'm not naming names on here, but I'm just saying, like, she didn't end up going with that, but it really pissed me off. And I thought I was safe in the safe zone to share that information. And now
Didn't this happen to Charlotte in an episode of Sex and the City?
it did. And now I'm like so turned off by the name that I'm never going to use it. So I
It
guess
ac-
I'll say
It actually does. It actually does happen. I've heard that happen to a couple people, honestly. I feel like that happened to one of my friends too. Like it's just it did happen to one of my friends, but it was an intra-family situation that someone in the family used the name that she said she was going to use.
like, I have no problem telling you, obviously, or like, I think we told Louie like what name we would use if we had a son, but like, I'm not telling friends anymore because that made me really like turned off to the whole idea of sharing it with people, especially if you have a name for years and years and years that you really love. That's fucked up.
Yeah. I can understand that.
All right, last, can Maria talk about her art collection? So if you follow my Instagram, I guess I share a lot of the art I have, which is half of Gabe's art, really. But
That
when
doesn't go with our house, so I'm like, get this out of here.
it doesn't go with your house anymore, but I guess my interest in collecting art started because when I was 17, Gabe took me to meet a couple artists in Philly, and we all hung out one night, and one of those artists was Martha Rich, and I absolutely became obsessed with her artwork. It's most of the artwork that is in my living room, which are these speech bubbles that just say funny sayings and really colorful, vibrant art. So I really started loving art in that sense around the time I was 17, and I had bought one of those speech bubbles. And then from there, because of going to art school and then just meeting other artists from living in the city, I just was like, I want to collect artwork. I just think it's cool to have. I have probably hundreds of prints I don't even have framed yet because would cost $1 bajillion to frame all the pieces I've bought over time. But I'm hoping in the next like couple of years I could get a lot of the good pieces framed and up in my house. But a lot of the art I have in my living room is from Gabe, which I inherited, thankfully, when you got your house redone. So that was good for me.
Well, I'm more like I just personally in my house, like I want it to be like my art and my stuff. Like I don't like that's just
Not your husband's art and his.
No, I don't mean mine. I mean like my own creations. Like it's my style. Like it's my own stuff that I'm hanging up. I'm not hanging up like someone else's stuff. We have some art in the house.
Yeah.
It's not, and I don't mean Gabe's. Like we have Gabe's stuff. We're actually getting ready to decorate the whole entire downstairs bathroom with Gabe's stuff, which is because it'll be really interesting to look at when you're sitting on the toilet, making your mooing sounds.
Well, I saw that bowl with the crystals in there the other day, and I wonder how you allowed that.
No, that's not happening. That's just that's just like on its way out the door,
Yeah,
stuff.
he
This
keeps
is like
putting
really
little
fun.
things in
He
there.
puts like stuff in the bathroom, and I'm just like, no. He hates me. Like today, he was, how we have this like Christmas wrapping paper that has 2 different prints on 2 different sides. And he was wrapping presents this morning, and I went in and he was wrapping it on the wrong side. And I was like, you can't wrap the presents like that. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, I don't want that print under the tree. I only want to. And he's looking at me, and I was like, listen, like, I have like a little bit of a crazy person problem with this. Could you just please
Well, you're going to hate when I bring my presents for you guys over because it's like bright red, pink.
You can bring them over on Christmas Day morning. I don't want them in my house. It
No, I'm bringing them next week on purpose to throw you off.
You can keep them on the porch. They're not staying in my house.
Somebody had also asked if I was regifting the towel warmer, and I will be. So we will document the journey.
Yeah, we'll make a video of it and post it on like our story or something like that because yeah, we need to do that.
And if you haven't been around to know the history of the towel warmer, basically my husband got Gabe for Pollyanna last year. I thought I gave it to him, but Ricky told me last night he gave it to him. Anyway, we gifted Gabe this towel warmer and he literally has not even touched it. So we're going to regift it this year and see if he even notices.
He won't notice. I'm telling you, it's like behind the tub in the corner. Like he just won't even notice that it's missing. It still has, when you get like an electronic and it's all wrapped up with like the cord and all that stuff, it's just like still wrapped up. Like it hasn't even been plugged in or anything yet.
I feel like I should get like, how they make solid cellophane wrap? I should get something so obnoxious and redo it with like a big bow and everything. And I think I'm going to do something like that.
Oh my God.
All right, guys. If you have a shocking story, please submit it to stories@motherknowsdeath.com. And if you want a chance to win a signed copy of Nicole and Jamie's anatomy book, please leave us a review on Apple, Spotify, or subscribe on YouTube, screenshot it, and also email it to stories@motherknowsdeath.com.
Yeah, we like written reviews too.
Yeah, please. Thank you. See you guys next week.
See you next week.
Thank you for listening to Mother Knows Death. As a reminder, my training is as a pathologist assistant. I have a master's level education and specialize in anatomy and pathology education. I am not a doctor and I have not diagnosed or treated anyone, dead or alive, without the assistance of a licensed medical doctor. This show, my website, and social media accounts are designed to educate and inform people based on my experience working in pathology so they can make healthier decisions regarding their life and well-being. Always remember that science is changing every day and the opinions expressed in this episode are based on my knowledge of those subjects at the time of publication. If you are having a medical problem, have a medical question, or are having a medical emergency, please contact your physician or visit an urgent care center, emergency room, or hospital. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Mother Knows Death on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you get podcasts. Thanks.